The Sharks continue to be the laughing stock of the NHL after a 10-2 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday night. We're going to dig into what's next for San Jose. What do the stats say for this game? And try to figure out an actual Penguins rooting guide for this season. So all that and more on today's episode.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite lovable losers in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Probably a part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. If you want to be an everyday, all you got to do is just follow along wherever you get your favorite podcast, or you can also subscribe on YouTube as well, or do both. Both is great. And we're going to be digging into where do the Sharks go from here after their consecutive double game of giving up 10 or more goals, and what changes need to be thought about being made here. Plus, try to figure out the proper way to root for the Penguins this year, because I've seen a lot of, well, should they just let the Penguins be bad and get an unprotected first round pick next year? What is the try to kind of figure out what I think is the best way to root for the Penguins this year. So before we get into all that, I do want to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you guys by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So if you had a social life or had literally anything else better to do than to watch the Sharks on Saturday night, the Sharks did something that hasn't been done since the 1965 Bruins. Consecutive games of giving up 10 goals or more. This is bad. It's bad. Like, I am 1000% team tank. The Sharks should be bad and try to get the first pick in the draft, sell off assets, whatever. Like that is there's that mode of being bad, and then there's whatever we've been watching this season from the Sharks. You are at the point where now you're actively hurting your franchise when you give up 10 goals in 2 consecutive games. I know this roster is not good. Anybody who follows hockey knows this roster is not good, but that doesn't mean it can't compete night in, night out. Like, look at last year, right? You had teams who were actively trying to be bad for Connor Bedard, but you still had teams that played hard in and night out. Columbus played pretty well down the stretch. Chicago played pretty well down the stretch. Like Anaheim had Anaheim had coaching issues. But you saw this is not normal. The Sharks are on pace to have the worst goal differential in NHL history. This is bad. Like, you can't keep doing what you're doing and expect things to be different. I think this is going to come down to David Quinn. This team just looks completely unprepared to do anything. And again, yes, I know this roster is bad, but this isn't the only bad roster we've seen in the NHL. Like, look at some of the teams at the last year who went in with actively bad rosters, and they still competed, right? They tried to win games. And yes, again, difference between tanking, like as a franchise, you are tanking, and then actively just doing whatever the Sharks are doing right now. It's bad for the players. It's bad for everyone involved. You can't expect to set, some sort of culture or like foundation when you are getting the doors blown off you night in and night out. How are you going to expect to have Eklund like do anything? It's not even the production, right? It's just the quote unquote learning to play the right way, right? Making sure you finish you forecheck hard, make sure you compete, make sure you're playing that defense, like a detail oriented defense game when you're losing by 8 goals. Like that's just not feasible. You're actively hurting your roster when you do this. And again, I know this roster is terrible, and I said this was going to be one of the worst teams in the NHL, and I predict, I think it's pretty safe to say they're the worst team in the NHL. But you have to show some heart or something, like, and I think it's going to come down. I think Mike Grier is going to have to make a decision with David Quinn here soon, because I don't know how you can keep trotting out the same coach with the same lineups and expect different results. And I honestly thought David Quinn was going to be safe this season. There was kind of I don't know if there was a wink and a nod that like, hey, we know we're going to be bad this year, but brighter days are ahead. As long as you do your part, make sure the team at least looks semi-competent and professional on a night in and night out basis, but the team just doesn't look like that. It's like hockey 101 mistakes of guys pinching at the wrong time, guys trying to like not covering on a 3-on-1 in the right, like it's like the Penguins played terrible. I don't think the Penguins played a good game, and they put up 10 goals without even having to try. You face Vegas on Friday. That is going to be an absolute bloodbath with the way Vegas put 7 up on Colorado this weekend. If the Sharks keep playing like this, like what's the record? 16 goals in a game or something like that. Like it's this has to change. This has to change. Again, I didn't expect the Sharks to win a lot of games. I still don't expect the Sharks to win a lot of games, even if they do change coaches. But it's how you lose, right? It's not that you're losing, it's how you lose. Are you going out there and competing? Are you making an effort to try to, do things the right way? And when you're losing, again, you are losing by 8 goals. How is anyone expected to do things the right way when it's just like, let's just get to the locker room and get out of here? I don't know. David Quinn seems like a really nice guy. I was hopeful for him when the Sharks hired him that like maybe he learned from his previous mistakes, all that stuff. I don't know how David Quinn has a job past Thanksgiving at this point if the Sharks continue to play this way. You have to. Maybe they kind of get their ass together here and they start to play some decent hockey. You got the Flyers, who've been pretty good this season, but have Carter Hart's not available, and then you play Edmonton on Thursday. Like, again, I'm not saying you're going to win those games. Could you at least make them competitive? Like, that Edmonton team has been if it wasn't for the Sharks, that Edmonton team would be the talk of the NHL with how bad they have played this year. Again, I know they're not going to win a lot of games, and I know this roster's bad, and eyes on the prize, Macklin Celebrini, baby. But like, the whole plan was to like, okay, be bad. We'll trade off. We'll hope some guys like, Anthony Duclair, maybe Mike Hoffman, Barabanov. Some of these guys can play well. Maybe you can flip them for some picks. Let the young kids kind of come in and develop. Like, that plan is, you're not getting anything for anybody because nobody looks like a competent NHL player right now. And a change must be made. Either the Sharks need to start playing competent hockey. And again, if you're losing like 3-1, like, and you're trying and you're talent poor, and that's what the Sharks are right now. You're talent poor. That's fine. But getting blown out 10-1, 10-2, night in, night out. This can't stand. And Mike Grier if this continues, Mike Grier is going to have to make a very, very tough decision with one of I know his friend, but Grier's been very ruthless as a GM, right? With the Eklund 8-day, the Eklund 8 games thing, like with the trades, like he has been very, like cut and dry with it. And David Quinn has not been holding up his end of the bargain right now. And I just, at this rate, like if the Sharks don't start producing, I don't think David Quinn is going to make it to Thanksgiving. So enter Ryan Warsofsky. That would be my pick. Again, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but Ryan Warsofsky, who was a candidate for a head coaching job with the Sharks when they hired David Quinn, former AHL Chicago Wolves coach, won the championship with them, is known for his development and his ability to communicate with players. And you wonder if it might just be something as simple as a change in the voice here soon. So we'll dig into the numbers here in just a second. And of course, try to figure out the proper Penguins rooting guide. But if you guys want to snap into the NFL season, FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook because right now new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you're thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get on the action. So the app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Christian McCaffrey touchdowns, guys. I know the Niners are on bye. He probably still scored a touchdown today just because that's what they do. But keep hammering that Christian McCaffrey touchdown, and you're probably going to have a good time. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. And if you need to look for new talent, Indeed is the way to go. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could do the same thing with your business team? If you're building a roster to win the league, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. If you hate waiting, and who likes waiting? Waiting's dumb. Indeed's US data shows over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. So join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire great talent fast. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality candidates that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon, Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, so what do these stats actually say about this game? Again, a game where you lost 10-2. It wasn't as like the Vancouver game where if you kind of look at the numbers and you're like, oh, this kind of looks pretty close. Not so much with this one. So 5v5 time. Penguins basically own the shot attempts. They had 60% Corsi, 56-38. The scoring chances are what really, and that was the thing of the game was just how many catastrophic errors that just like how many rush chances did you see from Pittsburgh where it was just like, oh, they're on the rush again. Oh, no, it's a 2-on-1. Oh, it's a 3-on-1. And scoring chances 33-19 at 5v5. High danger chances 20-6 in favor of the Penguins. Expected goals for was 3.17 to 1.95, 5v5. So the Penguins basically they took a bajillion shots right in front of the net, and this is what happens when the defense completely collapses. Well, the entire team completely collapses. So Mackenzie Blackwood got a mercy pull. Magnus Krona came in, made his NHL debut. If you want to learn more about Magnus Krona, go check out my interview with him last week. Super great guy, so really rooting for him. But again, like they're just both just put in insane like what are those guys supposed to do? So for the Sharks, again, like the number we only is so bad. So we had a little bit of change in the lines as to be expected. Anthony Duclair, Tomas Hertl, and Mike Hoffman played. Were on the first line. Then you had Eklund, Granlund, Zetterlund, Cunnin, Sturm, Zadina, and then you had Carpenter, McDonald, and Smith as your fourth line. Yeah, it was pretty much more of the same what we've have seen. So the Eklund, Granlund, Zetterlund, the Lund line played 10:42 time on ice, 10 shots for, 14 allowed. Actual shots was 4-8. Did give up a goal. 0.3 expected goals, 4.62 expected goals allowed. 5 scoring chances, gave up 5. 1 high danger chance, gave up 3. Yeah. The Hertl line, 9-16, time on ice 5v5, 11-12 shot attempts, 8-7 shots for in favor of that line. Expected goals for was 0.5 to 0.72. And then 7-7 scoring chances, high danger was 4-4. Cunnin, Sturm, Zadina, 752, 6-8 shot attempts, 3-5 scoring chances for, gave up 2 goals. 0.11 to 0.67 expected goals in favor of the Penguins, 2-7 scoring chances, 0-4 high danger chances, all in favor of the Penguins. Yeah, I mean, even looking at the goalies, like it's not fair because of the situation that those guys are put in. So, again, the Sharks play the Flyers on Tuesday. Looking like the guys who actually I thought McDonald played pretty well, to be honest. I did have a goal on the power play. And then I thought Eklund's one of those guys, it doesn't matter the score. He's going to continually try to and be active and stuff. I don't know what we got to do to get Eklund on the top line. I know him and Granlund have a little bit of chemistry there, but this team is so devoid for scoring. This is only the second time they've had 2 goals from this season. I put Hertl, Duclair, and Eklund together and just be like, you know what, you guys are the line. You guys have to produce. We're going to go with what you guys can do, because Mike Hoffman, who was literally a healthy scratch the game before, and then gets inserted into the top line because it doesn't make sense, right? And then by the end of the game, Jacob McDonald was playing the defenseman. Remember, Jacob McDonald, the defenseman, was playing first line winger for the Sharks because he was one of the few guys that actually had any sort of jump to his game. So you have to play. You have Eklund has done everything you asked. I know this season has been abomination so far this year. Put him with Hertl and Duclair and at least see if you can get something clicking. If you're a one-line team, then so be it. You're a one-line team. The Sharks were a one-line team last year, right? You were one-line team with Erik Karlsson on defense, but still, this was a one-line team last year with Hertl, Timo Meier, and then kind of whoever was kind of floating in there. You have to try. You have to shake things up here, and I think Hertl or Eklund has been one of your best 3 forwards this season. Who else? Duclair is starting to come on a little bit lately, but Hertl's been one of your best forwards this year. You need to put him on the top line and see if you can try to produce some sort of offense. If it doesn't work, then you can put Hertl, you can put Eklund. It's not like you can't change lines again. So I expect big changes when it comes to the lines for Tuesday's game against the Flyers. But that's you gotta give yourself a fighting chance. And if it's you load up your top line and just say, screw it, these are our guys we're going to battle with. And if they can't score, then we're just not going to score. That's fine. At least you're trying something different and you're putting your best players together and hoping that they can be special at moments for the game. So, yeah, another just absolute tire fire by the Sharks. So, hooray! Let's get into how you a Sharks fan should be rooting for the Penguins this year, and why a potential unprotected 2025 pick sounds intriguing, but is might be way harder to actually get than you think. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. But do want to talk to you guys about our friends over at Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry about buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with killer last-minute deals and all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I like Game Time for two reasons. One, you know exactly where you're going to sit because there's nothing worse than getting there and realizing you have bad seats. You can see a picture of your view. That way you're like, hey, maybe I don't like this view. Let me go check out this view over here for kind of the same price. Or, you can see what you're going to get into. And two, all the fees are included. Nothing worse than going to check out and they slap a bunch of fees on top of it. So Game Time, they are obsessed with finding deals to help you save money on tickets, and they can even have deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, even an hour after it starts. It's the time. It's the place to find last minute deals. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right. As a Sharks fan, one of the big questions this year is how do I root for things to kind of work out for the Sharks, at least draft pick wise, right? We know with the New Jersey Devils, right? Go Devils, make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then that gets you a first round pick. Yes, it'll be pick 29, 30, 31, 32, depending on how far they make it. But that's still a first round pick. And then if you're really bad, you're probably going to have pick 33. So you could be looking at two very close picks there. But the Penguins offer a lot of intrigue because they're a top 10 protected pick, right? And right now, looking at Tankathon, the Penguins, if the season ended today, thank God, mercifully, if the season ended today, the Penguins would be picking in the top 10, which has led a lot of fans to be like, a lot of people, I'm not making fun of, it is a discussion and I see the merit to it. But a lot of fans saying like, hey, if it's a top 10 protected pick, and the Penguins are picking top 10 this year, what makes you think that they wouldn't be picking top 10 next year when you would get an actual unprotected top 10 pick, which could then be first overall or whatever it is, right? It's a very, very intriguing option to have a top 10 protected pick, but I just don't think it's that easy. One, I don't think the Penguins are going to be like the fifth or sixth worst team in the NHL this season, right? Pulling up our good friends over at Tankathon. So yeah, as of right now, they'd be picking six. But if you look at some of the teams that are kind of ahead of them in the standings, like a lot of teams that you maybe don't expect to kind of be there at the end, right? Look at like the Washington Capitals, who played better recently, have gone 5-4-1 in their last 10. But do you think the Capitals are gonna be there at the end? Even the Flyers, who the Sharks play on Thursday, have had a really nice start to the season, but Carter Hart's going to be out for a while. And again, a lot of people kind of chose the Flyers as the other team who'd be tanking with the Sharks this season. The Blues, who are picking number 18 right now, have just an atrocious offense as the Sharks. And right now they're picking number 18. Even teams like the Ducks, who've come out and played really well, they're picking 22. I don't expect them to be kind of there by the end of the season, right? Could the Ducks be more of a, 11 to 15 team, which would be a huge improvement for the Ducks? There's just a lot of teams right now who are, and then looking at the bottom of the standings, right? Edmonton, I know Edmonton's got off to a terrible start this year, but again, you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You would expect them to start to kind of put things together here at some point. I know Ottawa's been very disappointing, but like they could be also looking for a new coach here soon. And sometimes you get just a new voice in the room. Minnesota has been kind of disappointing as well, but I still believe in like some of their talent and think that they are going to be a fringe playoff team. So some of these teams are down at the bottom. Like you kind of expect them, things are going to change and shake out. So, but as for Pittsburgh, I still think rooting for them to be the 11th pick this year is the way to go. And here's why I think it's too much to ask for them to be bad 2 seasons in a row, right? And I know what you're going to say, like, JD, this roster's old, like no cap. How are they going to get better? Hold on. Let me tell you. So if the Penguins say if they do pick in, the top 10, going into the draft, you would then have a top 10 pick that you could trade because it is your pick. So you could either pick somebody, but like, does it make sense for the Penguins to make a top 10 selection, especially when you're in Stanley Cup or bust mode, and you're going to be like that for a while? Kyle Dubas, the general manager, is a very aggressive guy. We've seen what he did with the Maple Leafs, just trying to acquire as much talent as possible. And we've seen him kind of doing that with the Penguins, right? He had a very, he's changed that roster on the fly very quickly this offseason and added Erik Karlsson, who again, we know he wasn't going to put up 100 points again this year, but I think he's starting to produce and starting to kind of find his way in that with that team right now. So Kyle Dubas with a top 10 pick, why couldn't he make a Alex DeBrincat like trade, right? Acquiring a young or an immediate star from a team that is, looking to maybe rebuild or looking to kind of blow things up, right? We don't know who that is, but like, what if it's Calgary, who's looks like they're gonna, be very bad this season? What if it's, like Winnipeg? I know they inked Hellebuck and stuff, but like, what if it's Columbus? Columbus has a bad season. Again, I am just spitballing here. Johnny Gaudreau is just like, I'm out, dude. Like, send me to Pittsburgh. It's pretty close to Ohio. For a top 10, for a team like Columbus, which is early in its rebuild, adding a potential another top 10 pick to give them 2 top 10 picks. Again, I'm speculating here, but and so you would have a top 10 pick, and then the Penguins have $17 million projected in cap space next season for the offseason. You'd have Jeff Carter coming off the books and his $3 million. You would have to make some, just like Jake Gensel. You'd have to make a decision on him if you want to re-sign him. And Jake Gensel's been a good player for the Penguins. But if you could take some of that Jake Gensel money and upgrade a player, I think you'd have to really think hard about it. I know that Pierre-Olivier Joseph, who's an RFA, and you'd have to make some decisions there. But I mean, the roster, as of right now, they have 15 guys under contract, so it's not like they have to sign a ton of dudes, and they have $17 million in cap space. So you could be aggressive. Like if you do not want to trade your first round pick, you could still be aggressive in free agency to try to add players in free agency to a team that is very much a win now type of team. So again, it's hard for me to imagine the Penguins with, as long as Crosby's healthy, because Crosby's still playing very, very well. It's hard for me to imagine them missing the playoffs 3 seasons in a row. So give me 2 seasons in a row. Give me that 11th pick. And then just wash your hands of it. Because again, I think if the Penguins miss the playoffs this season, there's going to be a lot of changes coming as Kyle Dubas tries to kind of reform this team on the fly. And I think he would have some opportunities to do that with a top 10 pick and some cap space to do that. And I think it's hard. I just have trouble seeing the Penguins being that bad for that long. But stranger things have happened. Erik Karlsson pick becomes number 3 in the draft. So there is that. Let's see where the Penguins go. But that's kind of my thinking about it is I would rather take the sure thing of a top 11 pick. Granted, if the Penguins continue to kind of play the way they are, they having to play this game again next year with where I think there's a lot more opportunities for the Penguins to kind of get better next year. So that's going to be it for me today. We'll be back tomorrow to discuss recap the Flyers Sharks game. Maybe we'll talk some Cuda in there, as the Cuda looked much, much better this weekend as well. Sharks might have something in Georgi Romanov. So we'll probably discuss some Cuda as well and how their weekend went. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. You can also follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter at MyFryhole. Until tomorrow, bye, friends.